I transferred another $15,000 to my daughter's account last Tuesday. The text that came back wasn't even a thank you. Just, got it. 2 words. After I'd spent the morning at the bank, explaining to the teller why I needed to move money from my retirement fund again. That was the moment I should have known. But I didn't. Not yet. My name is Marina, and I'm 64 years old. For the past 12 years, I've been what you might call the family bank. My daughter Rachel, she's 38 now, married to a man named Derek. They live in a beautiful 4-bedroom house in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. I know it's beautiful because I paid for 60% of the down payment. That was $95,000 of the money my late husband Frank and I had saved over 30 years of marriage. Frank died when Rachel was 26. Massive heart attack while mowing the lawn on a Sunday afternoon. One minute he was there, waving at our neighbor. The next minute, gone. Rachel took it hard. We both did. But I had to be strong for her, you know? That's what mothers do. After Frank passed, Rachel leaned on me. Emotionally, yes, but also financially. She was working as a receptionist at a dental office, barely making $32,000 a year. She met Derek at a friend's barbecue about a year after Frank died. Derek worked in sales, made decent money, drove a nice car. He seemed ambitious. I liked that about him. When they got engaged, Rachel came to me with spreadsheets. Wedding venues, catering quotes, photographer packages. "Mom," she said, sitting at my kitchen table. "I know it's a lot to ask, but Derek's parents aren't in a position to help much. His dad's on disability, and his mom works retail. Would you consider helping us with the wedding?" Would I consider it? She was my only child. Frank and I had always dreamed of giving her a beautiful wedding. I said yes before she even showed me the total. It came to $43,000. I wrote checks. I put charges on my credit card. I dipped into savings accounts I'd earmarked for my own future. But seeing her walk down that aisle in a dress that cost $3,200, seeing her smile, it felt worth it. That was 8 years ago. After the wedding, Rachel and Derek rented a cramped apartment across town. They wanted to buy a house, start a family, build a real life together. But their credit wasn't great. Derek had some student loans he'd defaulted on. Rachel had maxed out 2 credit cards in her early 20s. When they applied for a mortgage, they were denied. Rachel called me crying. "Mom, we'll never get out of this apartment. We want to start trying for kids. But how can we bring a baby into a place with mold in the bathroom and paper-thin walls?" So I co-signed. And I put down $95,000 toward the down payment, so their monthly mortgage would be manageable. They promised they'd pay me back once Derek got promoted. He was always about to get promoted, according to Rachel. It was always just around the corner. They moved into the house in North Portland in 2019. It was a fixer-upper, they said. Needed work. They asked if I could help with the renovation of the kitchen. Just $8,000, they said. It turned into $12,000 once they decided they wanted granite countertops instead of laminate. Then the roof needed replacing. That was another $9,500. I paid for half. My daughter had a baby in 2020, a little girl named Sophie. I was at the hospital when she was born. Tears streaming down my face, wishing Frank could have been there to meet his granddaughter. Rachel asked if I could help with the nursery furniture. Of course I could. I bought the crib, the changing table, the rocker, the dresser. I figured it all up later, $3,400. I started watching Sophie 2 days a week so Rachel could go back to work. I didn't charge for babysitting. She's my granddaughter. Why would I charge? I bought diapers, formula, baby food, clothes. I kept a whole nursery setup at my house so Sophie would be comfortable. Every time I went to Target, I'd come home with something for her. Then came the car situation. Rachel's Honda had 180,000 miles on it and was making a terrible grinding sound. Derek said it wasn't safe to drive Sophie around in it. They couldn't afford a new car payment on top of everything else. Could I help? I co-signed for a certified pre-owned Toyota Highlander. The down payment was $6,000. I paid it. I need you to understand something. I wasn't resentful. Not then. I was happy to help. Rachel was my daughter. Sophie was my granddaughter. This is what family does, right? We take care of each other. But somewhere along the way, the thank yous got shorter. The visits got less frequent unless they needed something. The phone calls were always about money, never about how I was doing, whether I was lonely in the house by myself, whether I needed anything. Last summer, Derek's company threw a big party for employees and their families. Rachel posted photos all over Facebook. There was a whole extended family section. Derek's parents, his brother, his sister, nieces and nephews, all together. I waited to see if there were any photos of me. There weren't. I commented on one photo. Looks like a wonderful time. Wish I could have been there. Rachel never responded. I started noticing other things. When I called, Rachel often seemed distracted, like she was doing something else while talking to me. When I suggested getting together for dinner, she was always busy, but I'd see on social media that she was going out with friends, taking Sophie to the pumpkin patch, having date nights with Derek. In November, I texted Rachel asking about Thanksgiving plans. She took 6 hours to respond. We're doing Friendsgiving this year. Derek's best friend is hosting. It's kind of a smaller thing. I wasn't invited. I spent Thanksgiving alone for the first time since Frank died. I made a small turkey breast, some mashed potatoes, watched the parade on TV by myself. I kept checking my phone, thinking maybe Rachel would send a message, maybe call to say Happy Thanksgiving. Nothing. At 9 p.m., she posted photos from Friendsgiving. 14 people crammed around a table, laughing, holding wine glasses. My granddaughter was there in a little turkey outfit I'd never seen before. I felt something shift in my chest that night. Something hard and cold settling into place. Christmas was worse. Rachel invited me to their house for Christmas Eve. I was so relieved. I bought Sophie an embarrassing amount of presents, spent hours wrapping them, even got gifts for Rachel and Derek. I showed up at 5 p.m. as instructed, arms full of shopping bags and a homemade apple pie. Derek answered the door. "Oh, hey Marina," he said, not quite making eye contact. "Come on in." The house was full of people. Derek's family was there, all of them, crowded into the living room. His mother was holding Sophie. His father was adjusting the Christmas tree lights. His brother and sister were arguing good-naturedly about what movie to watch. I stood in the doorway with my bags and my pie, and not one person got up to greet me. Not even Rachel. She glanced over from the kitchen, where she was pulling cookies out of the oven, and gave me a small wave. "You can put those presents under the tree, Mom. We're about to eat." I wasn't asked to help prepare the food. I wasn't included in the conversation. I sat on the edge of the couch, holding a glass of wine no one had offered to refill, watching Derek's family laugh and talk and pass Sophie around. When I asked if I could hold my granddaughter, Derek's mother said, "Oh, she just fell asleep. Maybe later," and turned away. We opened presents at 8 p.m. Sophie opened the gifts I'd brought, tearing through the paper with toddler enthusiasm. "Thanks, Mom," she said distantly, already gathering up the wrapping paper. I'd spent $1,200 on those gifts. She set them aside in a pile like they were any other thing. I gave Rachel her present last. A bracelet I'd seen her admiring online, rose gold with a small diamond. It cost $800. She opened it, said, "Oh, it's pretty," and put it back in the box. She didn't put it on. Derek's sister had given her a $20 candle from HomeGoods, and Rachel made a bigger fuss over that, hugging her and saying it was exactly what she wanted. I left at 10 p.m. No one tried to stop me. Rachel walked me to the door. gave me a one-armed hug while checking her phone. "Drive safe, Mom. Thanks for coming." I cried the whole way home. The next week, I did something I'm not proud of. I looked at my bank statements, my credit card bills, my records. I started adding up every dollar I'd spent on Rachel and Derek over the past 8 years. The wedding, $43,000. The house down payment, $95,000. The kitchen renovation, $12,000. The roof, $4,750. The car down payment, $6,000. Baby items and ongoing purchases, roughly $15,000. Emergency funds for unexpected expenses, $22,000. Christmas and birthday gifts, approximately $18,000 over 8 years. Regular monthly transfers to help with bills, $500 a month for 5 years, that's $30,000. The total came to $245,750, $250,000. That was nearly everything Frank and I had saved. My retirement fund was depleted. My savings account had $11,000 in it. I was 64 years old and basically starting over financially. And I couldn't remember the last time my daughter had said she loved me. I decided I needed to talk to her. Really, talk. Not about money, just about us, about our relationship. I called Rachel in early January. She didn't answer. I tried again the next day. No answer. I sent a text. "Sweetheart, I miss you. Can we get together for lunch sometime this week? Just the two of us?" She responded 8 hours later. "This week is crazy, Mom. Work is nuts. Maybe next month?" Next month. I felt something inside me harden further. 2 weeks later, I got a text from Rachel at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Hey, Mom, we're having a family dinner this Saturday at 6 for Derek's birthday. Just immediate family." I felt a wash of relief. I was immediate family. Of course I was. I texted back immediately, "I'd love to come. Should I bring anything?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "Actually, Mom, Derek's been really stressed lately, and he wants to keep it small. Like, really small. Just me, him, his parents, and Sophie. I hope you understand." I stared at that message for a full 5 minutes. I typed and deleted 4 different responses. Finally, I just wrote, "I understand." But I didn't understand. Derek's parents were invited. I wasn't. I had paid for the house where they were having this dinner. I had paid for the table they'd be eating at, the dishes they'd be using, and I wasn't invited to a birthday dinner for my son-in-law in my daughter's home. I sat in my living room that evening, in the chair where Frank used to read the newspaper, and I felt something break inside me. Not my heart, exactly. Something deeper, something that had been holding me together, making me smile and say, of course, sweetheart, every time Rachel asked for something. I called my lawyer the next morning. His name is Robert Chen, and he'd helped Frank and I with our estate planning years ago. "Robert," I said, "I need to talk about my assets. I need to protect what's left." We met in his office that Thursday. I laid everything out for him. The co-signed mortgage, the car loan, the credit cards I'd used, the bank transfers. He listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he set down his pen and looked at me. "Marina, I'm going to be very direct with you. Your daughter and son-in-law have been exploiting your generosity. Whether they realize it or not, whether they'd admit it or not, that's what's happening here. You've given them $250,000, and from what you're telling me, you're not even being treated like family anymore." Hearing someone else say it made it real. "What can I do?" I asked. "Several things," he said. "First, stop giving them money. Completely. If they ask, say no. Second, we restructure your estate. Create a trust for your remaining assets. You can name a charity as the primary beneficiary, or keep control until you die. And then it goes where you decide. But we make it very clear that Rachel doesn't automatically inherit anything. Third, you protect yourself legally from any claims they might make on your assets in the future. What about the money I've already given them? I asked. That's gone, he said gently. Unless there were loans with signed agreements, which I'm guessing there weren't, you can't get it back. But you can prevent any more from leaving your accounts. We spent 3 hours that afternoon creating what Robert called a financial firewall. We set up a revocable living trust. We moved my house into the trust. We created a clear will that specified my assets would be divided between several charities I cared about and a small amount to Rachel, only if certain conditions were met. We documented every financial transaction I could remember. Robert sent letters to the bank, to my credit card companies, setting up verbal passwords so no one else could access my accounts. One more thing, Robert said as I was leaving. You need to tell your daughter what you've done. Not ask permission. Tell her. I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Powerful. Saturday came. The day of Derek's birthday dinner that I wasn't invited to. At 4 p.m., I sent a text to Rachel. Not a long one. Just, I need to talk to you and Derek. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. at my house. It's important. She called me 15 minutes later. Mom, what's going on? Is something wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine, I said. I just need to talk to both of you. Tomorrow at 2. We have plans tomorrow. Cancel them, I said. My voice was calm, steady. This is not negotiable, Rachel. Either you're here at 2 p.m. or you can talk to my lawyer. Your choice. There was a long silence. Your lawyer? Mom, what is this about? Tomorrow at 2, I repeated and hung up. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept imagining the conversation, how it would go, what I would say. Part of me wanted to back down, to call Rachel and say never mind, to keep being the ATM machine, to keep being the grandmother who bought everything and asked for nothing in return. But I thought about Frank, about the life we'd built, about the retirement we'd planned that I could no longer afford. I thought about spending Thanksgiving alone while my daughter posted pictures of a party I wasn't invited to. I thought about sitting on the edge of her couch at Christmas, invisible. I thought about that text. Derek wants to keep it small. I didn't back down. Rachel and Derek showed up at 2:03 p.m. Derek looked annoyed, like this was an inconvenience, like I was wasting his time in the house I'd helped him buy. Sit down, I said, gesturing to the couch. They sat. I'd prepared papers. Spreadsheets, actually, printed out from my computer. I'd learned from Rachel how effective spreadsheets could be. I handed them each a copy. What's this? Rachel asked, scanning the first page. That's a record of every dollar I've given you in the past 8 years, I said. Every check, every wire transfer, every credit card charge for your benefit. The total is at the bottom. Rachel's face went pale as she read. Derek's jaw tightened. $245,750, I said out loud. That's what I've given you. That's what Frank and I saved over 30 years of marriage, nearly all of it gone. I'm 64 years old, Rachel. I'm supposed to be retired. Instead, I'm still working part-time at the library because my retirement account is almost empty. Mom, Rachel started. I held up my hand. I'm not finished. Last week, I wasn't invited to a birthday dinner in the house I helped you buy. At Christmas, I was ignored by your husband's family in the home I paid for. On Thanksgiving, I spent the day alone while you posted pictures of a party I wasn't included in. When I call, you don't answer. When I text, you respond 8 hours later with excuses. The last time you asked me how I was doing, really asked, I can't even remember. That's not fair, Derek said. We've been busy. Busy? I looked at him. You've been busy cashing my checks, but apparently not busy enough to invite me to a family dinner. Rachel was crying now. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. You didn't realize? I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and unfamiliar. You didn't realize you'd taken $250,000 from me? You didn't realize you'd stopped treating me like your mother and started treating me like a bank? We always planned to pay you back, Rachel said. Stop, I said. Just stop. Derek has been about to get promoted for 8 years. It's not happening, and I don't want you to pay me back. I want you to understand what you've done. I want you to acknowledge it. Derek stood up. We don't have to sit here and listen to this. Come on, Rachel. Sit down, I said, and my voice was ice. Because I'm not finished, and you really want to hear the rest. He sat. I met with my lawyer last week, I continued. I've restructured my entire estate. Everything I have left is in a trust. When I die, my house, my remaining savings, my possessions, they don't go to you. They go to charity. The Humane Society, the Public Library Foundation, the Women's Shelter downtown. Organizations that actually appreciate what they're given. Rachel's mouth fell open. You're cutting me out of your will? I'm protecting myself, I said, from being exploited further. And I'm also cutting off all financial support, effective immediately. The $500 monthly transfers? Done. Emergency money? No more. Gifts, loans, co-signing, helping out? Finished. You're 38 years old, Rachel. Your husband is 41. You have a house. You have jobs. You have a child. You're adults. Start acting like it. Derek's face was red now. This is unbelievable. After everything you've what? I interrupted. Everything you've taken? Yes, it is unbelievable, but it's over. Rachel was sobbing. Mom, please, we need you. How are we going to afford? I don't know, I said. And frankly, Rachel, that's not my problem anymore. You made your choice when you uninvited me to Saturday's dinner. You made it very clear that I'm not part of your immediate family. So I'm respecting that. I'm stepping back. You want Derek's parents to be the grandparents at every event? Great. They can also be the bank. Although good luck with that since his dad's on disability and his mom makes $12 an hour at TJ Maxx. That was cruel. I knew it was cruel, but I'd spent 8 years being kind. And where had it gotten me? You can't do this, Derek said, standing up again. That house is in both our names and yours. You can't just... Actually, I said, you should read the cosigner agreement you signed. I can remove myself from that mortgage anytime I want, which I plan to do. You'll have 30 days to refinance in your names only. If you can't, the bank can call the note due. That's in the fine print you didn't read when you were so eager to have me sign. I'd learned about that particular clause from Robert. Derek hadn't known. The look on his face was almost worth $245,750. You're really going to do this? Rachel asked, her voice small. You're going to cut us off completely? I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. When had she become this person? Or had she always been this person? And I'd just refused to see it. Not completely, I said. You can call me. You can visit. You can bring Sophie to see me, but it will be because you want to, not because you need something. And I won't be paying for anything. Not dinners, not birthday gifts, not emergencies, nothing. What if there's a real emergency? Rachel asked. Then you do what every other adult in America does, I said. You figure it out. You ask your bank for a loan. You use your credit cards. You cut back on expenses. You ask Derek's parents. You don't come to me. I stood up, indicating the meeting was over. Derek was already heading for the door, furious. Rachel lingered, looking at me like she didn't recognize me. "Mom," she whispered, "I do love you." "Then show me," I said. "Not with words, with actions. Treat me like your mother, not your ATM. Invite me to family dinners. Answer when I call. Care about my life, not just my bank account. If you can do that, really do that, then maybe we can rebuild something. But it won't happen overnight, and it won't happen while you've got your hand out." She left without another word. The next week was hard. I kept expecting Rachel to call, to apologize, to try to make things right. She didn't. Instead, I got a nasty email from Derek telling me I was a bitter old woman who was going to die alone and Sophie would never remember me. I deleted it without responding. Then I got a text from Rachel. "I talked to a lawyer. He says you can't remove yourself from the mortgage without our permission." I called Robert. He made a few calls. Turns out Rachel's lawyer was either wrong or lying. The bank confirmed I could remove myself as a cosigner with proper notice. I started that process the same day. 2 weeks later, Derek called me for the first time ever. "Marina, we can't refinance. Our credit's not good enough and we don't have enough income. If you remove yourself from that mortgage, the bank could foreclose. Then I suggest you figure out how to improve your credit and increase your income," I said. "You have 30 days. You're going to make your granddaughter homeless?" he asked. That one hurt. But I'd thought about it, talked it through with Robert. With my therapist, I'd started seeing, "No, Derek, your bad decisions are going to make your daughter homeless if you don't fix them. Not me. I gave you 8 years and $245,750 to get your life together. What you did with that was up to you." 3 days before the 30-day deadline, they refinanced. Maybe Derek really did finally get that promotion. Maybe they borrowed from someone else. Maybe they took out a second mortgage at a terrible rate. I didn't ask, but my name came off that mortgage, and I slept better than I had in months. March came. Then, April. Rachel didn't call. She didn't text. She didn't bring Sophie by. It hurt more than I thought it would. I'd see toys at the store, little outfits, books I wanted to read to Sophie, and I'd feel a physical ache. But I didn't buy them. I didn't reach out. I was learning to take care of myself instead. I used some of my remaining money to take a weekend trip to the coast with a friend from work. I hadn't done something like that in years. I ate at nice restaurants. I bought a piece of art I'd been admiring at a local gallery. I started going to a yoga class at the community center. I reconnected with friends I'd been neglecting. In May, I ran into Derek's mother at the grocery store. She gave me a look that could have frozen fire. "You should be ashamed of yourself," she hissed, "treating your own daughter like that. Did Rachel tell you she took $245,000 from me and then uninvited me to family events?" I asked calmly. She blinked. "That's different. That's what family does. They help each other." "You're right," I said. "It is what family does. But I haven't felt like family in a very long time. I felt like an ATM machine. There's a difference." I walked away before she could respond. In June, my doorbell rang on a Tuesday afternoon. I opened it to find Rachel standing there, alone. No Derek, no Sophie. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd handed her those spreadsheets 4 months ago. She looked thin, tired. "Derek moved out," she said. 2 weeks ago. He's staying with his brother." I didn't say anything. Just waited. "We've been fighting constantly since. Since that day you told us you were cutting us off. About money? About responsibilities? About everything. He blamed me, said if I hadn't been so spoiled, so dependent on you, we wouldn't be in this mess. He said I never grew up, never learned to take care of myself because you always bailed me out." She was crying now. I still didn't move. To comfort her. Not yet. He was right, wasn't he? She continued. I've been using you. For years. I knew it, but I justified it. I told myself you wanted to help, that you offered, that it was your choice. I never thought about what it was costing you. I never thought about you having to work at 64 because your retirement was gone. I took and never gave anything back. No, I said quietly. You didn't. I'm so sorry, Mom. She looked up at me, and I saw something in her face I hadn't seen in years. Genuine remorse. I don't even know how I became this person. After Dad died, you were there for me so completely, and somewhere along the way I started expecting it, instead of appreciating it. You became this resource, instead of my mother, and I treated you like one. I felt my eyes burning. Do you know what hurt the most? It wasn't the money, Rachel. It was being invisible. It was being excluded. It was calling you and knowing you were ignoring me. It was seeing pictures of family events I wasn't invited to. It was being nothing to you except a checkbook. I know, she whispered, and I can't change what I did. I can't give you back those years or that money, but I want to try to make this right, if you'll let me. How? I asked. I don't know yet, she said honestly. It was such a simple question, but I couldn't remember the last time she'd asked it. I'm angry, I said. I miss my granddaughter. I miss you, the you I thought you were. I'm scared I wasted 8 years on a relationship that was one-sided. I'm scared I've lost you completely. Rachel nodded. You haven't lost me. I'm right here, and I know I have to earn my way back into your life. I know you don't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either. We talked for 2 hours that day. Really talked. She told me about her marriage problems, how she and Derek had been living beyond their means for years, how they'd gotten so used to my money that they'd never learned to budget or save. She told me about feeling inadequate, about comparing herself to other mothers, about trying to keep up appearances. She told me Derek's family had always made her feel less than, and having my money to spend had been a way to prove she was worth something. I told her about the loneliness, the hurt, the feeling of being used. I told her about Frank, about the dreams we'd had for retirement that were now impossible. I told her about seeing her posts on social media and feeling like a stranger watching someone else's life. When she left, we hugged. A real hug, not the one-armed, distracted thing she'd been giving me. Can I bring Sophie by this weekend? She asked. I'd like that, I said. She did bring Sophie that weekend. And the weekend after, slowly, carefully, we started rebuilding. Rachel got a second job to help with bills. She and Derek went to marriage counseling. Though, I'm not sure it's going to save them. She started calling me once a week, just to talk, not to ask for anything. It's been 8 months now since that confrontation in my living room. Rachel has never asked me for money. Not once. When Sophie's birthday came, Rachel specifically told me, Mom, please don't spend a lot. Just your presence is the present. I bought Sophie a $20 book and a homemade card. It felt better than spending $1,200. Last month, Rachel invited me to Thanksgiving. Just you, me, Sophie, and Derek. If he comes, no one else. I want it to be about us, about family, about being together. I went. We cooked together. We laughed. Sophie fell asleep in my lap while we watched the parade. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive Rachel for those years. I don't know if our relationship will ever be what it should have been. But I do know this. I'm not invisible anymore. I'm not an ATM. I'm her mother, and she's finally treating me like one. And my remaining savings? They're mine. I'm planning a trip to Ireland next spring. something Frank and I always wanted to do. I'm living my life, finally, for me. Sometimes love means knowing when to stop giving. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give your child is teaching them to stand on their own. It took me 64 years and $245,750 to learn that lesson. But I learned it, and I'm free.